Hey guys, welcome back to another one. Let's just jump right into this exercise. We're going to learn about seed value. So we're going to learn through actually coding through this exercise and trying to solve this problem. I think that's one of the best ways we can learn and actually have it stick. So if you want, pause this video, look at this exercise on your own, but I'm going to read through it really quick and then we'll go ahead and jump right into trying to solve this. Exercise: define a method named showResults with one parameter. The parameter should reference a random object ran. The showResults method should generate an integer of 0 or 1 using the random object reference ran. If the number generated is equal to 1, return true. If the number generated is equal to 0, return false. In the main method template, the ran variable has already been assigned a random object with a seed value of 2. So basically, let's jump down here. If the input is 3, then our output with that random seed value of 2 should always be true, false, true. Pause the video, read through the question again, read through this, see if you can get started thinking about the logic. Don't code yet, just think about, write down what you're going to need, syntax, logic-wise, and then we'll go ahead and jump right into it. So let me open up my environment. Okay, another thing here, really quick pause, make sure your environment's set up just like this. You have your scanner, random, we already have some stuff laid out for us here, so make sure that is ready to go. And then I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into this exercise now. So the first thing we need to do is define our method as asked, showResults. And inside that method, we need a couple things. Remember, we need to accept a random object as a parameter. We need to generate a random integer, and that has to be either 0 or 1, remember, true or false, and return true if that number is 1, and false if that number is 0. So keep that in mind as we're doing this. You could always pause and try that and then come back and see what I put down. So let's define our method showResults. We need a Boolean. Remember, we are talking true and false here. And let's define showResults. Okay, and then random, and they wanted rand. Okay, there we go. And within our method, like I said, we need to generate that 0 or 1. So how are we going to do that? Int, let's call it a random number because that's what it is equal to our rand.nextInt, and make sure you have 0 or 1 too. I'll explain that in a second. So that generates a 0 or a 1. Okay. Now we need to return, remember, we need to return the true or false based on what integer is generated. So random number equal to 1. Okay, so what this is doing, it returns true if 1 or false if 0. So we have our showResults method defined. I'll go through the syntax really quick with you. Basically, we have showResults. It returns a Boolean value right here of either true or false. So we need to make it static. Why do we need to make it static? Because we'll call it from the main method without creating another object of the class. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. We have random rand. What is this doing? This is the parameter. We pass in a random object to generate those random numbers. So that's what we're doing there. And then we have our random number, rand.nextInt2. So this generates our 0, 1. So it's important to remember here that it's 0 inclusive and 2 exclusive. So basically what that leaves you with is either you're going to get the 0 or you're going to get the 1. And return random number equals 1. This checks if the random number is equal to 1. Okay, that's all it's doing. Then the method returns true if that is equal to 1, else it returns false. Okay, so pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Let's go ahead and jump down to our main method. And remember, inside this main method, again, pause the video if you think you can do it, but inside this main method, I'll kind of give you what we're looking for. We need to take the user input, remember. We also need to create a random object with a seed value, which is already declared here too. So we got those taken care of. And we need to call the showResults method in a loop, because remember, based on the input, okay? And then we need to print the results either true or false each time. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. If you can, pause the video, see if you can get that taken care of. We're going to do a little bit of a minor deep dive into actually what this seed is doing and what's its purpose and its value, okay? But let's finish coding this out really quick. So let's jump, we'll call this, I guess, what step would this be? Well, we need to get the user input. So like step 3 of this main method. So let's get user input, okay, for the number of times to call show results, okay? Again, every time I write these comments out, try to stop and pause and see if you can actually write that part of the code out. That's why I do it for you. Int n equals scanner. We just need a scanner. No big deal, nothing too scary. Okay, the next step, we need a, we have to actually call, okay, show results, oops, n times. Pause, see if you can get this coded out. Remember, we're talking about a for loop here, okay? All right, let's go. For int I equal 0, I less than how many times? N times. I less than n times, we're going to increase by 1, okay? There we go. Inside of our for loop, what are we looking for? We need to call the show results, and then we just have to print the results. So how do we call our show results? Remember, Boolean, true or false, result, okay, result, did I spell it right? Yeah, equals show results. And inside we have, right, I'll explain this in a second if this is confusing, but, and then print, remember, print our results. And that prints the results. So in this section, the Boolean section here, we're calling the show results. So let's start from here, and we'll do a little explanation. So int n equals scanner.nextInt. So this captures the integer input from the user, and it tells you how many times to call the show results. That's it. So whatever the user puts, then it's telling you based on that user input how many times we're going to call the show results method. So that's why we have this int n, okay? That's all it's doing. Nothing too scary, nothing too complicated, okay? Now let's move on. The call, this is, where are we at? Yeah, right here, show results rand. So this generates either, remember, the rand, this either true or false. That's all it's doing. That's all it's saying. Generate either true or false, and then based on that, true or false, we're gonna keep printing that. This is why we have our loop here, n number of times based on the user input, okay? So let's clear that really quick, and let's run this and see if we get the results based on that user input of 3. So let's go 3, enter, true, false, true. There we go. So it worked. Nothing too complicated. We're gonna do, you can end it here if you want and move on if you understand what seed is, but I'm just gonna do a quick little overview of the seed and why it's important. So basically, what is a seed? When you're using like a random number generator, like the random class up here in Java, boom, right there, it really actually doesn't create like a true random number out of thin air. So that's not what's happening behind the scenes here. Instead, it uses like an algorithm, a mathematical formula, and it generates a sequence of numbers that kind of give the illusion of randomness, that seem random. But that's not what's really taking place behind the scenes. There is a mathematical algorithm kind of taking place behind the scenes that's generating that illusion of randomness, okay? So, but in order to generate these, to create these numbers, there has to be a starting point. So that's where we get the seed from. That's what our seed is doing. It's the starting point of that mathematical formula to produce these results each time the same, right there, true, false, true. So that's what's happening. So let's see if we can basically explain. So imagine you have like a complicated, let me see if this is the best way to explain, a machine that spits out a sequence like of just kind of random looking numbers, okay? But in order to get those random looking numbers, we have to start somewhere. You need to give it a starting point in numbers. So that's what's happening here. We're giving the starting point seed 2. And what that does is it introduces predictability. So this is really important. That's one of the main reasons we use the seed is predictability. So when you use the same seed, the random number generator basically produces that exact same sequence of numbers every single time you run the program. So what is this useful for? It's really useful for debugging is what I've come to find out. Like because it ensures you get that quote unquote same random number result each time. So that's basically what the seed is in a kind of an overview. So if you don't specify a seed in Java, it uses what's called the current time as the seed. This means like every time you run a program, you'll get a different sequence of quote unquote random numbers because the time is always changing. Okay. So that's what we're doing here. We put the seed 2 so we get the exact results that they were asking for in the exercise itself. So that's the reason why we did the input 3 to get those same results. Okay, so I hope that helped. I hope that explained a little bit, and you actually get to see the value of the seed and why we use it. And you can actually see it instead of just hearing it or reading about it. You can actually see it happening inside the code itself. As always, thanks for watching. If there's anything I need correction on, feel free to let me know in the comments below. But if this video was any value to you, please hit that like and subscribe button. I really like to see this channel grow. Whoever hits the subscribe button, most likely you'll be the first subscriber. So I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you all on the next one. Take care.